Okay, so I'm going to do a little video on making some inserts. I've got a Ridgid R45 table saw, and doing inserts for those are a little bit more of a challenge than some of the other ones, mainly because of the way they have the mounting ears so close to the top of the cast iron. So there's only about, I went through, it's about 190 thousandths between where the ears sit and flush with top of the cast iron. So the problem is when you make that material, you've got to be less than that thickness, especially if you want to make it adjustable so you can actually set that height to get it right. So I've got an idea of what I want to do. I'm going to make a template. So I'll use some guide bushings, which means that my template will actually be, I'm going to make my master template slightly smaller to account for the guide bushing. And then after that, I should be able to just rip out at least the pattern with minimal effort. So we'll see. All right, so just want to go through this. So here's a challenge I have when I'm trying to make these inserts. If you have the same saw, you get the same issue. Is they've got these cast iron ears, and they only sit about 190 thousandths below the top of the cast iron table. So there's very little material that you can support on here. So the stock plate that comes with it was basically, it's 100 thousandths thick that sits in here. So what they've done, and you can see there's holes here. So there's actually just a screw in there that you can actually set up and down to micro adjust this to get it perfectly flush, which works well for this. Unfortunately, I'm not going to make them out of metal, which most people won't. So I've done a couple different ones. I've done this one, which is just a wood one that I made up real quick. I also made one out of the UHMW. And this one I kind of liked it. And this is kind of where I'm going to go with this is. So I'm going to be making a template. So what I'm going to do is I've got this is basically for my router. So this has got a guide bushing in it, and then I'm using a 1/2 inch straight bit for a cutter bit. So the issue, of course, when you're using the guide bushing is your template that you make is going to be slightly, when you cut from the template, it's going to be slightly larger, right? Because you're actually offset from the guide bushing to the bit. So what I'm going to do is I've taken that all into account. So I've got all the dimensions, and I'll post there'll be a picture with the dimensions I made for mine at the end of the video. So if you want any details, you can look at that. So basically, I've done all the math to figure out what the radius I need, what the width I need, which will be less than the true width and the radius of the insert itself. The factory one that comes with it, this one here actually is actually pretty sloppy. I wouldn't use this as as my guide. So I've actually measured up using my calipers and measured all the dimensions. And I've got everything worked out. So I'm going to rip this down. Again, it's going to be actually slightly this is 625 thousandths. This is 500,000 half inch bit. So you have a distance between the actual edge here and the edge of the guide of you got a 32nd of an inch of clearance. So if you take that times 2 for the entire thing, so you're going to be a 1/16 of an inch difference on the width. So basically, I've just measured the width, subtracted the 1/16, and I'll rip that down. And then I've got the radius calculated. So I'm going to have to do that with basically. I use my calipers and I've set the distance. So I basically 3.665. Probably a little bit more accurate than you need to be, but basically that's what it should be at. All right, so basically what I did, I just used my my caliper. I went through and I set the radius, I arced it out, and I just penciled it in. I did it at both ends. I lost my compass. I don't know where the heck it went. Anyway, so the idea is, again, this is going to be slightly smaller than the throat of the actual table saw. So when I use a template, it should actually come out the exact same right size. So I just ripped a piece a little bit wider than what the throat is going to be. So I've got my template basically cut out. My plan is, I've kind of marked here, this is where the saw is going to go through. So for my pattern, what I was planning to do is to actually drill a couple holes through here, and then I'll use that to attach to the piece so it won't move. But I'm just going to kind of sketch out just roughly where this is going to be at, because I'm going to cut off a little bit of the wood just to make it easier on the route. So I should only be routing off just a little bit of it. So I'm making with the pattern. So what I've decided to do, I've actually taken to make this so I can basically just set this up every time. So I've got this, the pattern. I made some holes in it, and I counterbored each of those holes. Basically, so the depth I'm going to be using some quarter 20 bolts, so that they got to be below the flush line. So they are. I put two different patterns in here, or two different locations, depending on what kind of insert I'm making. So it just, because I don't want the hole to be in the material if I'm not going to cut through with the blade. So the curve for the blade is lined up to come right through the middle of this. So I just drilled the pilots through. So basically, again, I'll just take these guys here and just line this up with him, and then line them up with the inside one on him. And this one here should just go through. Okay, so they're below flush. So now I got to just mount it on here, and it makes it easy. So now all I need to do is I'll basically just clamp her into my my vise. And then I can just basically route this out. Alright, so now that I've taken it down, it looks like it's a pretty good fit. She's pretty tight. There's just a hair and a wiggle, but I guess you'll need a little, because there's actually, again, because it's cast, there's actually a lip underneath here you have to get by. So I'm hoping that's going to slide by that, and it'll be a pretty good fit once it gets through there. So now what I have to do is, because I have these ears on here again, so I've got to basically clear out the material for each of these so this thing will actually sit all the way down. I think what I'm planning to do, before I try to route that out, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a Forstner bit on this guy. I'll mark all the locations, and then I'll just drill that or hog out that material. So hopefully we can clear all these bloody ears. So since I'm cutting these out, I'm going to make I wanted another insert with UHMW, so I just cut a piece out and just kind of roughed it up. So we'll just pattern him up while we got things tooled. Then I do have a piece of 3/4 inch UHMW, which I haven't tried this stuff yet, so I'm gonna give this a go also. The other stuff I had was just a 1/2 inch. The problem I had with the 1/2 inch is, unfortunately, UHMW does tend to kind of want a potato chip on you, and it won't always stay flat. And I've had issues with the 1/2 inch, so I'm wondering if maybe the 3/4 inch will stay a little bit more flat after I get done milling it all out. So we'll rip some pieces and go from there. So like I said, I already got 2 of them done. I'll do a piece of this, and let's see how it goes. Okay, so I've got a piece of UHMW, my 3/4 inch, which I'm going to run off. So this stuff gets really messy. It really looks that way too, because it's all black and it looks like crap. But anyway, hopefully it'll machine up nicely enough. I probably should have been wearing this mask, but I'll put this on now. Okay, I said it gets really dirty with that stuff, and as you can see, it really makes quite a mess. So the nice stuff about the white is it doesn't show up as much, but as you can see, there's piles of that stuff all over my bench. I probably should have put a hood or something around this because it's going to be fun cleaning my shop after that. So, yeah. Okay, so here we go. So I got plenty of these now. I got all kinds of different varieties of wood and materials, thicknesses. So basically, these are the 2 3/4 inch oak. This is the 1/2 inch UHMW, the white. This is the 3/4 inch black. This is the 1/2 inch Baltic birch, plywood, these two. This was my first go a long time ago, which is the one that's actually done, which is just a piece of pine that I did when I made the original one. And this is my original 1/2 inch UHMW. All right, so I just kept adjusting this just a little bit and taking measurements. I'm at 208,000, which is good enough for me. So I'm gonna just hog the rest of these guys out. I've marked on here, and you can't see it, but there's little marks on here that I can see where I have to hog out at. So I'm gonna take all those down, and hopefully she'll work. Right, so I'm going to just drill a hole here. This will be the finger hole, so I can be able to get this thing out once it's in. So there we have it. So it's basically installed. So I put the hole in here again, so I can just pull this guy out. It fits pretty good. It is flush, so I don't have worries about it catching on the front or the back of it. So I have 2 7 1/4 inch blades on there now with this set down. So I'm just going to raise this up through and put the slot for the curve. Okay, so I put the 10 inch blade back in, so we'll just push it through to cut the final cut for the curve. There's one last piece that I forgot to do, but I did at the end. So on the stock pieces, and even on the ones I built, you have to add this little clip on the front end of the insert, because if you don't, this thing could actually come up and get you, which you don't want to do. So I basically just took my piece. So I got a little metal strap I found and just kind of bent it up and screwed it on the bottom. So again, this thing won't pop up. So now it just goes underneath there, down she goes, and she sits nicely. So, I guess altogether it came up pretty well. I'm pretty happy with these inserts, and the pattern seems to be a pretty good idea. It's nice because I don't have to worry about if in the future I need to make any for dado blades, or if I want to just make a zero insert for if I'm doing any specific, maybe custom cuts with at an angle like a 45 or 30 degree or whatever it should be. I can do whatever I need to do pretty quickly and make one of these. The biggest pain in the butt for me is just by the fact that you have to do all this work to mill out all this material so that it gets by all these ears, which is a little bit difficult. Well, not difficult, just time consuming. But overall, it works pretty good. So the materials I have today, so basically I have the original one I did, which is just pine. Another one I did out of 1/2 inch UHMW. That's where I added these set screws so that I could actually set the height on this to get it right. On this one I didn't need it. I just took my time and got the depth just right so that this thing does fit nice and flush. Again, that's with all the screws on the ears all down. So works pretty well. So good luck with it. If you decide to make it, if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them if I can. So leave any comments, suggestions, and if you would, subscribe to my channel. I appreciate it. Thanks.